So if I cover 1.1 today, what do you think you need to do for homework? 1.1. I've already gotten 2 text messages that say, when's homework due? When's homework due? We haven't even started. Okay? Who asks for dates? Who usually asks for the dates? Students that wait till the what? Last minute. So if you want to hang a sign around your neck that says, I'm a procrastinator, keep asking for dates. Because I'm making mental notes every time you do it. Okay? You're going to be the one that waits till the last minute. So you need to be doing 1.1 tonight. Now, will you be able to do the whole thing? Probably, because 1, you've already read the chapter, and 2, you know, it's vocabulary words. It's not even math yet. So chances are you probably have already started on it because I opened it up this weekend. Did you notice that? The one person that looked. And, you know, they're vocabulary words. So it's not really a big deal. Now, to answer your question, and I answered it the other day when I showed you the test, what did I tell you I do after I go through the pre-test? I'm sorry, that's mumble. I don't know no mumble. Blah, 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 blah. What is it? I think you got the right answer. Go ahead. And the test. Did everybody get that? Yeah. I went over that the other day. It's on the second day video too, if you need to go back and look at it. Okay? Please don't text me and ask me about dates, because I don't assign them until we get to the what? The pre-test. How do I know? When I go over 1.1, you go over 1.1 homework. It's not rocket science. All right. So we good? Anybody got any other questions? I promise not to go smart ass on you, okay? Just go ahead and ask if you got them. Okay. So let's see what, oh, I forgot one more thing. Let's go with whiteboard. It kind of helps for the computer to be configured for a teacher, but you know, that would be asking a lot, wouldn't it? At least it's on this morning. Damn Russians. All right. That's a joke. It's a joke. Sense of humor. Develop one, please. That's interesting. It's supposed to, oh, I know why it's not doing it. There we go. I'm sorry. It takes me a minute. And that's not supposed to be there, but I don't care. All right. So I'm going to go through that. Okay. Uppercase statistics. Write that down. Statistics with a capital S. And make sure you highlight the capital, because, of course, if you're on a standardized test and they give you defined statistics and it has a capital S, somebody tell me what that means. That means the science of obtaining, calculating, and interpreting data. Now, if you want to write all that stuff on the board, oh, I'm sorry, I suck. If you want to write all that stuff on the board, then go right ahead. Capital statistics, obtaining and calculating, interpreting data. And what it's interpreting for you to see a trend, for you to predict, for you to use probability. Okay? So capital S statistics means obtaining, calculating, and interpreting data. Now, one of the things you're going to see about me as a teacher, I'll take a whole paragraph of BS and I'll what? I'll just strip it down to layman's terms. Y'all know what layman's terms mean? Just everyday common terms. Okay? Why? Because this is an introductory course. You're not at the highfalutin level yet. When you get to a Math Science 300 or 400, 301, 411, okay, and you're getting into research statistics, then you can hold your pinky up. But right now, we're just trying to get you in a meeting or through a meeting or a presentation, and you know what's going on. Everybody with me? So, you know, we don't need to go into all these highfalutin words for an introductory class. All right? Data is the stuff that you obtain. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by, you know, giving you the definition of data. But if you go out and you do 100 surveys and 50 of them don't come back, then you've got 50% data. Those surveys that came in, that's data. Whether it's questions, whether it's asking you your age, whether it's asking you what color car you drive, you know, whatever, that's data. Anything coming in and you calculating is data. Those are two words. Data, you would probably see on a standardized test. I'm not going to ask you what data is. I will ask you what statistics with a capital S and a lowercase s is. So there's your first test question, statistics with a capital S. Okay? Population. Population is always your biggest group. So a population at Tri-County Tech would be Tri-County Tech students. All Tri-County Tech students. So that would mean Anderson campus, Pendleton campus, Sandy Springs, Oconee campus, Easley campus, if I said that, I don't know, Pendleton campus, all the campuses. The population will always be the bigger group. Therefore, the sample is always the what? Smaller group. Now, why do we have to have a sample? Because of two things that are most important in all of our lives. And what are those two things? My children, shut up. What are the two most important things in your life? Come on, people. I can't believe I got 30 people in here, and you can't tell me what the two most important things in your life is. And it's, huh? Well, air and water, yeah, that's pretty. I'm talking about things that we, you know, think are priority in our lives. How about that? Okay, we're kind of given water and air, so we can't count those because we don't have to work for them. But what is important in our lives? Thank you. See, I knew somebody had the answer. You just, I don't know, y'all just suck at communicating. I don't know why y'all do that. All right, time and money. Now, if you are a presenter, if you have done the research for Michelin or for Anderson, okay, you can't call it Anderson Memorial Hospital, you have to call it AnMed. All right, if you work at AnMed or if you work at Michelin and you're going through and doing some research, okay, they don't want you to go to every Michelin in the United States, do they? They want you to use a sample. Why? Because of time and money. All right. Now, the gist of all this probability and statistics, and the reason for you to take 15 courses in probability and statistics to be a quality assurance director at wherever, is so you can take a sample and you can crunch it through the math and predict for the what? The population. Write that down. The goal for all statistics courses, all probability and statistics, PB&S or whatever you want to call it, the goal for probability and statistics courses is for you to take a sample and predict the population. So if Tri-County Tech called me up and said, we need to find out what the average age of students are at Tri-County Tech. Now, of course, we can do that with one flick of a switch because you put your age down on your what? Application or your birthday. And that goes in everything on your application goes into a database, everything. So we could do that with computers. But what if they said, what's the average age? Then I would come to Anderson campus and find out the average age of everybody at the Anderson campus. Then I would crank it through a 95% confidence level or above, and then I would do the math and do hypothesis testing, and then crank out and say, I can say with a 95% confidence level that the average age of students at Tri-County Tech is 26 years old based on a sample at Anderson campus. That's the goal. Now, how many classes does it take for you to do that? I would say 3 or 4. And when you get to a 300 level or 400 level at Clemson or wherever you're going, then you're going to be in research methods. That's what it's called. And that's when you talk about doing the surveys, obtaining the data, and then you get into all that. But that's your goal, to take a sample and predict for the population. Now, with the sample and the population, there comes things that we use with the sample and the population. Now, I'm going to write this down because they hardly ever put it on the slides together. With a population, you have formulas. Everybody know what formulas are, right? Mm-hmm. And those formulas have variables. And those variables are called parameters. Now, why is this important? Because when you're in a presentation, remember, this is an introductory level course, so I'm just trying to cover you in a meeting. So if the presenter's up there going, yes, we use parameters, boom, you automatically say he's talking about the population. Okay? So you don't sound ignorant and say, what's a parameter? Okay? It's a variable used in a population formula. Now, that's in layman's terms. You're not going to see this book say that. But it's a variable / letter used in a population formula. And what are they usually? They're usually Greek letters. 2 examples are mu, which is the population average, and lowercase sigma, which is the standard deviation for the population. LC stands for lowercase. So, from now on, anytime you're in a meeting or a presentation and they throw out mu or lowercase sigma, you know it has to deal with the what? Population. Well, then what's the sample? The sample uses the variables used in sample formulas are called lowercase statistics. Lowercase statistics. And they are depicted by regular alphabetic variables like X bar, which is your sample mean, and S, which is your sample standard deviation. So from here on out, whenever you see those, you know that one has to deal with the population and the other has to deal with the sample. And I can guarantee you that some of you have been through a probability and statistics course and you had no idea what a parameter was and versus a statistic, and all it was is variables. See, that's the difference between flootsy-wootsy talking and layman's talking. They're variables. So now when you're in a meeting or you're in a presentation or you're in a class and somebody says, well, X bar is 26, but mu is 28, then you know that the average age of the population is 28 and the average age of the sample is 26. That's the whole purpose for knowing the difference between a population parameter and a sample lowercase statistic. Now you got the definition of lowercase statistic. Now all of this on this board right here is on my test and standardized test. Make sure you know the difference between them. Capiche? Dango comprende? Now I'm going to pick on, where's my Ukrainians? Where are they at? They're not in this one. They must be in another class. I was going to ask how you say okay in Russian, or do you understand in Russian or Ukrainian? Is Ukrainian a language or is it Russian?
They're slightly different.
You're a Ukrainian, right?
No, I have Ukrainian friends.
I think I have two in my other. It must be in my other class. Okay, I get y'all mixed up with the other class a lot. So, any questions on those two? And I guarantee you, somebody in here didn't know the difference between them, and that's normal because when you teach, in a 100 level course, don't expect people to already be knowledgeable in the subject. It's very simple. Tell that to some of these academic gods and goddesses with little g. 100% test question right here. 100% test question. Now, I'm not going to, you don't have to write, just write the words. I'm going to tell you what the definitions are, unless you just like writing. Okay? And I've already went over parameter. You don't need that. Descriptive. Descriptive statistics are statistics that you conduct. What I mean? Well, if I gave you a project and told you to go out and find out what is the most popular color car in the parking lot, then you're doing descriptive statistics. If I tell you to find the suicide rates or the drunk driving murders, or what do you call it, drunk driving deaths in South Carolina, are you using descriptive or inferential? You're using inferential because you're using other people's what? Stuff. Other people's methods, other people's statistics. Capiche? So one is descriptive, which means you are actually obtaining the data, and inferential means that you're taking it from somebody else. Layman's terms, you're using data from a magazine, or you're using data from the Department of Transportation. Now, we're going to be doing that when we get to hypothesis testing. Why? Because hypothesis testing, they give you the data in the question and you decide if it's valid or not. That's called inferential statistics. Whereas if you go out, okay, let me ask you something. You remember finding your average of your tests since like 7th grade? Is that descriptive or is that inferential? That's descriptive because you're actually doing it. Whereas if you pull up my retention rates in the last 10 years, that's not descriptive, that's inferential because that's my stuff and that's the data that I have. So you with me? So those are two good test questions. Now, I'm not going through all this because I've already explained to you what the difference is. I don't want them muddling it up. Two good test questions. What's the old saying about quality and quantity? Quality over quantity. What do you want? I want quality, not quantity. Let me give you an example what quality is and quantity. Blondes, brunettes, and redheads. What is that? Quality. That's a qualitative. No sneezing in class. That's quality. So that means, somebody told me, did I tell you all this? That there's a teacher that if you sneeze, she will look at you wrong.
It's Anita Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did y'all know that?
Yes. She looks at you for like 2 whole minutes and you're like, it's so weird.
I guess you're just supposed to, your head is supposed to explode, I guess. I guess you're just supposed to, like SpongeBob, when he catches suds, Patrick, stuck corks in him. I guess that's what you put, corks in your ears and your nose, and your head will explode.
Just sneeze louder.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's the redneck in me. Qualitative is categorical. And write this down, with a qualitative table, You don't have classes, you have categories. Blondes, brunettes, redheads. So if I went through and I did a table, and I did blondes, brunettes, and redheads in the class, then blondes, brunettes, and redheads would be on the left. Those are categories. And then the head count would be on the right. That's called the frequency. In the future, it's going to be called a frequency table. I have a theory about statistics. I believe that a long, long time ago, there was this guy, and he wanted to be a mathematician. And he couldn't make it as a mathematician, so he kind of settled for the highest he could go was statistics. And he decided he would make a class and a science out of statistics, so he started putting big words, and he started changing bar graph to histogram so he could make himself feel good. Because there's a lot of things in statistics that you just call it what it is. A frequency distribution is a table, okay? It's got a left side, it's got a right side, you got the categories on the left, you got the head count on the right. It's a table, but they call it a frequency distribution. And they call a histogram a histogram. Does everybody know what a histogram is? It's a bar chart. And there's actually test questions out there. What is the difference between a histogram and a bar chart? Does anybody know? The histogram, the bars touch each other. That's the difference between a histogram and a bar chart. Is there any difference in its function? No. But evidently they wanted to make it sound impressive if they said bar chart's not good enough, so we'll call it a histogram. Quantitative data. Quantitative data is mathematically relevant. And quantitative data has classes. Think of wrestling, not wrestling. Wrestling, okay? Wrestling and boxing. What do you divide wrestling and boxing into? Weight classes. Remember that. Anything having to do with a quantitative state is divided into classes. Everybody with me? So, I'm going to give you 3 examples that students miss on a test. You ready? What is zip code? Qualitative. What is social security numbers? Qualitative. What is area codes? Qualitative. Why? If you add 2 zip codes, do you get another zip code? No. You get a bunch of numbers that mean absolutely what? Nothing. If you add 2 social security numbers, or you multiply 2 social security numbers, do you get another 9-digit social security number? No, you get a bunch of numbers that mean absolutely what? If you get a bunch of numbers that mean absolutely nothing, it's qualitative data. But if you take, 2 heights and you add 6 foot and 6 foot, you got 12 feet. And you can take the average. Can you take the average of social security numbers? No, because they mean nothing mathematically. Now that's the difference between those two. Make sure you know it because that is a test question and it's also a standardized test question. A lot of people say, golly, how many test questions you got? You got to remember, my questions on my test, they pull from a bank. So for the Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 parts of the test, I could only have 5 questions and they could be pulling from 50 questions. You see what I'm saying? And you might get a question on this, or you might get a question on discrete versus continuous, or you might get a question on what is X bar, or you might get a question on, what is capital S statistic, and that might be for your first question. It could pull from 25 different questions, or 50. So I take all the questions from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, and I put them over here, and 5 questions from your test pull from those 100 questions that I've reserved for those 5 questions. Everybody get me? So you could get one of those 100 questions or 50 questions for number 1. So that's why I keep saying it could be, the questions that I say are very important. is going to be part of those 50 questions that I pull from in chapter 1 and chapter 2. Okay? Because 80% of your test is going to come from chapter 3. Next, write those down because those are good examples. Down at the bottom. You don't have to write all that. Just write down the bottom. Nationality, number of children, household income, level of education, daily intake of whole grains. Dang on moonshine. I wonder if that counts. What do y'all think I could carry in this green can all the time? Yeah, 13-year-olds don't hold their liquor very well. And tell your daddy it was not a green truck, it was a blue truck. Yeah. The green truck didn't run through the fence. The blue truck ran through the fence.
So was the green truck after the blue truck?
No, the green truck was before the blue truck. Yeah. Yeah, we were going down that road pretty fast. Have you ever been out that way?
To the farm?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's changed hands like 3 times, though,
Yeah.
so it looks a lot different.
Yep. Yeah, anything that your daddy tells you is probably a lie. So tell him that, you know, I didn't do any of that stuff that he says I did.
Fair enough.
All right, you got those? All right, next. And that's the same thing. That's what I've been telling you. Oh, discrete. These are 2 more. Discrete. Only thing you got to write down is one thing. Anybody know what it may be? Count. You just got to write down one word for continuous. Anybody know what that word is? What's the opposite of counting in mathematics? Measuring. Wow. I feel faint. How'd you know that? You watch my video? No, I'm just kidding. Maybe. Yeah, nobody watches them. I don't know why I do them. As soon as I take them all off YouTube, you know what they say? Oh, you should make videos and put them on YouTube. Actually, I did it because somebody said I couldn't do it. That's why I did it. That's why I did the first video. I went and bought me a video, the little camcorders that you flip out? I went and bought one. That's the only reason that first video, I think it's called Math 101. It's the only reason it's on there. Because somebody told me I couldn't do it. You can't do that. This coming from somebody that works at T-Rex Community College that thinks Blackboard is cutting edge technology. All right. So, somebody give me something that they can count. Eggs. Lollipops. Cars. Those 3 are all discrete variables or discrete things. You count them. And of course, what do you think of when you measure? Meters, liters, grams. Weights, heights, volumes, distance. Now, why is it continuous? Because measurement, if I give each one of you a measuring tape, y'all know what a measuring tape is, right? But y'all don't know how to read them. Only half of you know how to read them. But anyway, if I give 30 people a measuring tape, 15 of y'all are going to turn in a distance. Because like I say, 15 of y'all are not going to turn in a distance because you don't know how to read a measuring tape. But I tell you to go out there and measure a fire hydrant. I think there's a fire hydrant in one of those 2 islands down there. Okay? I think it's near the building, of course. That's where fire hydrants usually are, near the building. And I tell you to measure fire hydrant. And 15 of you measure the fire hydrant. The other 15 just look at it and say it's 3 feet because you don't know how to read tape measure. So, out of the 15 that use the tape measure, how many different readings am I going to get? 15. Why? Well, estimation. Some of y'all may estimate different. Some of you may be holding the tape different. Some of you may go from the mulch to the top of the fire hydrant, while some of you may take your foot and scrape away the dirt and get down to where the metal touches the metal pipe. Some of you may just measure, scrape away the mulch, and go from the dirt to the top. You see what I'm saying? So, how many different measurements are you going to get? Well, what if I told you, and I closed the gate out there, and I told you to count the cars and the vehicles. I meant count the cars and the vehicles. Count the vehicles in the parking lot. How many different answers should I get? None. I should get one. I should get one answer. Why? Because if that gate's closed, nobody can what? Come in or leave, and everybody would get the same what? Count. That's the difference between discrete and what? Continuous. Discrete, you count. Continuous, you measure. Height of a tree. Continuous. Number one most missed question on my test. Okay, out of the continuous and discrete. I don't know why. That question, I put the height of a tree on the test, and there's like 5 or 6 discrete continuous questions. There's 5 or 6. That's the number one most missed. So write that down so you don't miss it on the test. Height of a tree is continuous. Question, great, complaint. Feel good about yourself? Great. So you won't wear sunglasses in a building. All right. There's some more. Number of children. Discrete. Household income. Continuous. Daily intake of whole grains. Continuous. Volume. If you've got 2 identical swimming pools side by side, and you put water in one and water in the other, are you going to count the number of gallons, or are you going to measure? You're going to measure because that's volume. So anything having to do with volume, how much milk did that cow give? That's volume. Capiche? I need to give ample time to comprende. Is it comprendo or comprenda? If I'm talking to a group. Okay. Comprende? Y'all don't know. Y'all suck. Next. Okay, there we go. Same thing. That's in general. You can take a minute and write that down, but qualitative data, there's no breaking up qualitative data, because qualitative data is blondes, brunettes, and redheads. And if you don't understand, somebody give me the average of blondes, brunettes, and redheads. That's what I thought. That's why. Quantitative data you can break up. And you don't have to write that down. You just know need to know the difference. Nominal. Everything is nominal. If I asked how many people in here have been thrown in jail, that's nominal. I've been thrown in jail. Tijuana jail. You haven't been in jail until you stayed in a Tijuana jail.
What'd you do?
Too many tequila poppers. Down there, they throw you in a barber chair, and they pour tequila down your throat until you can't drink no more. And by the time you get out of the chair, you fall down. Or you get in a fight with a bunch of army dogs. So anyway, that's why I got thrown in jail in Tijuana fighting. It wasn't just me, okay? It was other Marines involved and some army dogs. They were involved. So it was a pretty good fight. They didn't put up a good fight. But anyway, ordinal. Ordinal means order. That's all you got to write down. Somebody give me an example of something ordinal? I'm sorry, what?
The alphabet?
The alphabet would be, yes, that's on order. How about a race? Yep. How about rankings of high school students? You ever think about if you're the last rated senior at the last rated high school in the last rated state, you're the dumbest person in the United States? Something to strive for, right? All right, ordinal means order. Think of class rankings. Y'all know what that is. That's senior. Okay, senior stuff. Rankings. That's ordinal. Nominal. How many males and females are in your senior class? That's nominal. Everything is nominal. You can say that rankings are nominal and ordinal because everything belongs to nominal. Nominal is like the umbrella that covers up all the other measurements. Everybody with me? So you could actually say that nominal is everything, but, you know, it's not really a big deal. Ordinal is rankings, anything having to do with ranks. Interval, you ain't got to write this down. All you got to write down is 0 does not mean absence. Prime example is temperature. Why is temperature interval? Because 0 does not mean absence of temperature, does it? Talk to your physicist, okay? Does not mean absence of temperature. Whereas ratio, poor old ratio could be your age. Now, we could get into a conversation about that, but we're not going to, okay? But 0 means the day you were what? Born, okay? Or, you know, right before you were born. We're not getting into that discussion, okay? We're going to keep that discussion at 0. Before 0 and after 0, okay? Some of y'all are going, what are you talking about? Nothing, forget it. So you don't have to write down all that stuff. 0 means 0. You're going to give some examples here, so you need to write them down. And of course, which one do they leave out? They leave out interval. But anyway, number of snack and soft drink vending machines in the school, ratio. Whether or not school has a closed campus policy, nominal. Class rank, ordinal. Number of days per week a student eats lunch at school, ratio. Are those good? Not really. I like my examples better. Now that nominal, that's a good one for nominal. Because technically, whether or not, that's a 50-50 what? Shot. So really, nominal covers just about everything. And of course, if you want to write down more, all you got to do is watch the what? Video for the one person that's going to do it. What is the difference between an observation and an experiment? Well, just think of a perv. What does a perv do? Stalks you, right? All right. What does an observation do? We just watch you. Think of it like that. We watch you. All right. Think of this. Have you ever seen those videos where people are studied with sleep apnea and they have the night vision and you see them sit up and lay back down and sit up and walk around and sleepwalk? You ever seen those? Yeah. Is that an experiment or an observation? It's an observation. What if, being the person with my sense of humor, I like seeing drunk people getting tased. You ever watch that on videos? Oh, God, I love it. I love watching live PD when when they tase some arrogant ass. I love it. But anyway, that's why I couldn't be a police officer. I'd just shoot your ass. I would. I could not be. At least I'm honest. If you were, being, you're doing 150 and you get mad at me because I pulled you over and you were doing 150 and you get an attitude with me, I'll shoot you in the leg. That's just me. Okay? I wouldn't kill you. No, that's not right. But I just shoot you in the leg. Around the big part right here. Or I would tase you. Okay? Because I love to see people get tased. If you ever gone to Google, drunk people getting tased, it's an actual category. It's great. If you ever feel down about yourself and you feel like, there's just nothing going good for you that day, watch drunk people getting tased. And it'll make you feel better. Anyway, what if every time that person moved, I was to tase them? That would be not an observation. That would be an experiment because something is being interjected into the observation. Capiche? In other words, you got observation, which somebody is just watching. And then you've got something interjected into the observation. That's when it becomes a what? An experiment. A good example. What is a mouse or a rat? Whatever you want. What's the difference between a mouse and a rat? I think a rat is a big mouse, right? Something like that. But anyway, a rat in a maze. Is that observation or is that an experiment? It's an observation. Because you're watching to see what the rat does. Put a piece of cheese in the maze. You've just changed it from an observation into a what? Experiment. So you can use the cattle prod or the taser, or you can use the cheese to distinguish between the two. Okay? I bet some of y'all have never seen drunk people getting tased, have you? Yes, sir.
But if you created the maze, why is that not an experiment?
Well, yes, you're right. But the actual observation is of the rat in the maze. You're wanting to see how fast the rat can get out of the maze. So you're not controlling it. It's there. The maze is there. You're not controlling it. But if you put a piece of cheese or you, put cheese at all four corners, that's when you're actually changing it into an experiment. Okay? Because some observations, there is a little bit of interjection, like you have to build the maze. But that's not the actual control because the rat or the mouse can go wherever he wants to in the maze. But the point is he's trying to get out of the maze. Little door, you're trying to see how fast, and that's why you're observing it. You put cheese in the middle of the maze, is that going to affect his time to get out of the maze? Yes, because he doesn't want to find that cheese. You see what I'm saying? You're putting some kind of control into the observation versus just sitting there and looking at it. Does that make sense? It's I just used the rat in the maze because you interject the cheese. But yes, I see your point. When you have a maze, you're building the maze. Is that control? Well, since the actual observation is watching the rat in the maze is part of the observation. It's not part of the experiment. Okay? I know where you're going with that, but just take my word for it. In this level, just the difference between the two. I see what you're saying, though. Okay? My alarm hadn't went off. I want to make sure. What time's class end? 9 what?
9:25.
Okay, my alarm didn't. Oh, I don't have it set for Tuesday and Thursday. I need to get on that. I don't have it set. So I'm glad my internal clock went off. We're going to pause it there. Discard. Let me cut off the handy dandy. So how far did we get? What is the slide?